Math application can be as simple as drawing something 100 times. This is a reminder that the elementary stuff still falls under umbrella of mathematics. 100 hands provide 100 opportunities to spot misconceptions and personal biases. Here are a few things I noticed on this iteration of drawing 100 hands. Typically, I spend my time drawing the full human figure. My reasoning was that by doing this, I would also draw the hands. Though this is true, I would typically take shortcuts when drawing the hands to avoid figuring out how the shapes actually work. It took me a long time to realize that in skipping such a vital skill, it was hurting my drawings. The hands by themselves have a lot of gesture to them. By focusing on this specific part of the body, we can learn a lot about how to draw the rest of the body. Hands require a deep understanding of form and shape. These are required concepts to master drawing the human figure. Another thing I learned was in relation to perspective and exaggeration. In perspective, as things get closer to the camera, they become larger. However, the tips of the fingers are small. I frequently want to maintain the smallness despite the fingers being close to the camera. This causes my fingers to look disproportionate and strange. When things don't look quite right, I'm realizing it's probably because I'm not taking perspective into account. I've always thought exaggeration was stretching the truth, but I don't think that's the correct view. Though it can be used that way, we exaggerate to convey the forms more accurately. A hand that is reaching towards the camera is going to have larger fingers, much larger than they would appear normally. This is a concept of exaggeration. There is a non-literal piece that serves as a reminder for the artist to push the forms to make them look more accurate. Hands are characters, not just an appendage. Before this practice, I viewed hands only as being part of the body. However, hands are like little characters that are attached to the human form. It's a fun concept to consider a rogue hand forcing the clumsiness of its host, or perhaps an overly vengeful hand that's always trying to sabotage people contrary to its host's desires. Maybe it would be hard to be an octopus because they have brains in their limbs. I'm not completely sure what this means for my art yet, but I'm excited to try it and see what happens. Let's talk about what I learned about math next. This activity required a lot of shapes: squares, rectangles, pentagons, hexagons, cubes, pyramids, and more. The human palm has a unique looking polygon shape. It's a square with a triangle for the thumb. Though you don't need advanced analytical skills to draw, it's helpful to be aware of things like area and volume. The closer something is to the camera, the more area it will consume, but the volume doesn't really change as much. Make sure you use reference materials. I find my reference materials on ArtStation. This video is not sponsored. You can get a reasonable amount for $10 and support other artists. It's really hard to draw something from memory, and so having something to reference and look at can be really helpful, but also it's helpful because you don't have to think about what you're going to draw. You just follow what shows up on the screen next. In math class, we repeatedly do the same problems. I have 2 points I want to make with this. First, practice develops diligence and dedication. Because of the repetition, it gets boring quickly. If you can develop the diligence to stick with it, despite the fun level, you can repeat this type of thing in places outside of math class. Second, learning requires us to identify our own misconceptions and biases towards a subject. In math class, we do this by attempting similar problems repeatedly. Art class takes a similar approach. Math is a study of abstract patterns, and those abstractions often apply in places that surprise us. In studying math, you will identify those misconceptions and biases quicker because you will recognize the abstract patterns involved in the drawing process. If you're interested in learning to draw the human form, I highly recommend drawing 100 hands. It helps us identify frequent misconceptions. Perhaps you've noticed some I didn't mention here. That's where teachers and others can be helpful. Different perspectives help us learn quicker. Feedback is an important piece of the puzzle. Regardless, my perspective on drawing hands has changed. That means I learned something. Hands are still overwhelming, but a little less intimidating. Thanks for watching.